Hey everybody, we've got another event in the pipeline, and this time it's presented by Zwift. And we missed the first two stages, but they have makeup stages later. But we're going to start with stage 3. So this is going to be a great test of the fitness that we gained when we did our tour Watopia with the Flemme Rouge group. This one is all over Zwift though, it's not just Watopia. So we're going to start with showing you the other island that we're on. So today it's a Makuri Island, and it's pretty much about 40-ish, 50-ish K when you do the loop. And the stage we're doing today is the longest route on the island. So it's called the Makuri 40, and it's a 40K route. So I'll show you the details of the route. We've got 40 kilometers, 306 meters of gain, and a little bit of a lead in there. Now what you can see from the profile down below here is we start off going uphill right away. So the typical Zwift gunning it out of the gate, here when we're gunning it, it's actually going to be uphill. So it's great for me because right away I'm getting into my advantage of weight and power. Once we get up there, there's a descent, a very long flat section, and that has varied terrains. And then we have two valley sections, and then we come up again for a climb towards the line. Not a super challenging course, but what it does have is the challenge in testing all the systems. So here we go. Start, and we go up basically around this coast into the city. There's a cool arcade section, lots of lights. It feels like crossing somewhere in Japan's Shibuya district. So there we go. That is the route out of the gun in the front pack. My goal was to stay with the front pack. It was awesome to see this many people in an event. You'll notice there's 1,206-ish. Now the numbers will rise over the first half hour because there are what are called late joins up until 30 minutes into the event. I've never tested it. I usually am in early. A good thing is a half hour before the event, if you get in, you're at the very front of the pen, so I always try to get in there for that. So we can see here the first little bit, we're in 2K, I'm in the front pack. I'm asking myself, can I keep up with that pace? Should I keep up with that pace? And then I reminded myself, well, let's test yourself. I had a few days off in between the Flemme Rouge stuff and this, so I wanted to see if I bounced back, recovered, got a fitness boost, etc, etc. So but you'll notice in this one the gamifications are active. So for example, there I just used a helmet, and that's aerodynamics, makes you move faster for the same amount for I think 15 or 30 seconds, something like that. So you'll see other people will be deploying these throughout the event. The main ones that you'll see are a van for drafting, so when you're in the draft you get an extra draft effect. The aero helmet, which we just saw, which again, if you're in the wind or not in the pack, you go the same rate basically as the pack, as though you're drafting. And then the last one we'll see typically is the feather, and that one makes you lighter for a certain period of time. So on a stage like this, you'd want to deploy that obviously on one of those climbs. So I'm in the front pack. We're going pretty hot. I'm noticing my heart rate is already up in the 160s, but I'm trying to get towards the back of this group. Again, let the group pull me along rather than having to worry about fluctuations of power or tax or whatever. Let everyone cover everything and kind of stay at the back where there's no turns in this game. So if this was in real life, I wouldn't be doing that, because as you go around a corner, you slow down. Most people do anyways. And then you have to accelerate out of the corner. Whereas in this game, there's no real cornering. You're the inside or the outside of the turn, and that really dictates how your avatar is going to go through that turn. So wide turn, you have to give a little bit more. Inside turn, you give a little less. So I was just trying to stay with this front group, and I told myself, okay, I made a pact. Stay with the front group as long as you possibly can. I didn't think I could finish this stage in the front pack. If there's 1,200 riders in an event, I'm not thinking I'm in the front group. Not in a million years. But I'm usually good for a chase pack. So I'm just thinking stay in the front group, keep yourself going, and keep yourself motivated. Now, I don't have a cheat sheet like I would have had for the Flemme Rouge event. I would come into this just kind of operating off of memory. I'm waiting to see the elevations to even off. It'll start to be like 0, -1, 1, and that's when I know we're in the flat section, which we're almost there here. I believe when I looked at the profile, it was around 8 kilometers anyway, so I had that kind of in my mind. So just staying with the front, trying to stay off the front, you know, trying to also accumulate these power-ups for the gamification portion of the event. You get used to not riding with them in the Flemme Rouge, and then all of a sudden you have to remember, oh yeah, I have that power-up I can use, and you have to use it before. Well, you don't have to use it before the next segment. If you're happy with the power-up you have, and there's a portion of the stage that you know you're going to deploy that one specifically, you can hang on to it. But at each banner, when we go through a segment, we're allotted another opportunity to get one. So if you use one up, it'll refill it for you. And on this event, I believe we had 4 sprint segments. So that's 4 different power-ups that you can deploy and use. For me, I usually wait to get a feather, and then that's the one I hang on to. I don't usually use much else because I'm always trying to hide in the pack. So the giraffe van is nice if I've had to chase back on, and then I can deploy it and get like an even bigger or greater drafting effect. But if I'm actually in the pack, I'm usually doing the power that I'm supposed to be doing anyways, because that's where I belong in the event or the race or whatever it is. So just staying here in the front, making sure things don't string out, nobody attacks, there's no breaks, but I'm also just sitting in knowing there's about 35 to 40 of us here. I haven't looked back yet that I can remember, so I'm playing with those angles now, but it was very apparent to me that playing with angles meant that I was falling off the back, so I had to kind of focus in on the actual event and the avatars in the game and not worry about getting great angles. So this is like a farmland section, agricultural section out in the country, and this particular route has 3 varied landscapes. There's Yumezi, there's Neokyo, and there's Urukazi. So those 3 districts make up this island. Neokyo was the first, I believe. Lights, glamour, glit, that major East Asian metropolis. So it's got flat terrains and climbs. We already saw that. 306 meters total. And it's varied. So it's going to test my 1-minute power, my 5-minute power. Nothing really in the 20-minute, but probably maybe 7 to 8. So here we are going through the outskirts of the city, and you can see we're trucking right along. 15 minutes in, we're already done 11k of this course. So I'm still hanging with that front group. It's not easy. You can see my power is in and around my sweet spot. That's a good 8, 9 out of 10. But I'm able to fluctuate as well. But I felt that the few days off the bike, I wasn't as in the groove. So I wasn't using my shifting techniques or paying attention as closely to am I on the inside or the outside. But slowly but surely, as we got into this event, I started to think about those things. Now, the other thing you'll notice here is that everybody doesn't have the same bike, but there is certainly one bike that seems to be very popular other than the color that you'll see. This is a special in-game bike. You have to do, I believe it's 50,000 meters of climbing to get it, and it's called the Z1 Tron bike. Everyone calls it the Tron bike. And you can change the color, RGB style of the outline of the bike. So I went with yellow. I like yellow, matches my shoes. Usually have the red socks, so for this event as well, you'll notice we all have the same kits. So this is what you get if you complete the tour. So the Tour de Zwift, unlike the Flemme Rouge, it's more of a participation event. They do have I noticed this year they have an epic race version as well, but I noticed the numbers on these events are much larger than the numbers on those race events. So, but what you do is as you do a stage, you get a new piece of kit. So maybe at the end of the first stage you get socks, and then you do 2 stages and you might get the bucket hat, and then 3 stages and you get the shoes, or maybe there's some special sunglasses, gloves, etc. So the whole event is 7 stages, and you have 3 different distances you can select for each stage: a short, standard, and a long. So for this event today, we did the long event. And each stage will have that same outline or blueprint for it. So you're able to pick and choose when you want to and what you want to and what you can get done. And at the end, if you just did all 3 short stages, you still get the same, this kit that we're all wearing. It's a little badge of honor. You can wear it when you're out free riding around Zwift, or maybe you're doing a workout. You can flex the different kits and stuff that you have. We can see now lots more lights. It seems like there's a lot more action going on. Just people along the roads. There's cars parked here, signage, lamps, road signs here. And I remember I've done this course quite a bit. It's a good training course because, again, it lets you hit the varied systems. So I know where all the little rises are. And not exactly, but in my mind I can remember. So like here, I knew the sprint was coming right after that thing, so I tried to get myself in the bunch as much as I could, like usual, and go through this fast section, just staying with the group. Again, my goal is, can I stay with these guys? Because I don't believe I can. I believe I can stay with them to a certain point, but I wasn't locked in. It was, you're coming off of having a little bit of rest, you're lethargic, you're mentally dull. Yeah, but overall, I was just going to put in a good hard effort to see how's my heart look, how's my power look, how's everything look after the 8 days of racing in the Flemme Rouge. And now these ones, the other thing is they're not 7 days in a row. I believe they're 4-day blocks to complete one stage, and then the next stage comes the next 4 days. So for me, that's great. And mostly what I'll be looking at is where I am in the pack with others. So through the Flemme Rouge, I got upgraded to category A on Zwift. Last year when I got that, it was closer to my outdoor season, so I never got to really do any A grade racing. Now, unfortunately, I have to look for a new organized team, or I'm going to try to look for an organized team. Because I don't see much for A's in the group I'm in. So here we are coming through the city now, working our way back outwards. And I'm still with this front group. I saw they were doing dad jokes, so I tried to do one myself. It took a long time to type it out, though. I believe this takes us back out in towards the fishing village area, or the market area. Sorry, there's a market. So this is going to be varied terrain. Again, this is basically stone. Now we're into dirt. And then we go through here and we're going to see bridges, wood planks, etc. Things of that sort. But it's really cool and engaging. Like here we are in this cavern. It's really cool to see those hanging crystallizations. It's usually like minerals, I think, that cause that stuff. I'm not a scientist or a geologist. But yeah, it's cool looking. You get the bats flying around, and it just breaks things up because you've gone from that farmland area in through the city. At this point, I'm starting to struggle. I mean, I have been struggling, and you can see my heart rate is actually low. So now I know that my heart is good. My heart rate's coming down for the efforts that I'm putting forth. But my legs aren't able to answer the call for putting out more power. So I know that there's a beach section coming up, and as I get to that beach section, right here we can see I start to falter a little bit. Now we're flying. We got 17k to go. We've been going about 45, 46k an hour this whole time. You can see 31 minutes in and we've already done 23k. So 20 would be 40k an hour. To do 23, now that's up in the 42, 43 average with all of the hills and the varied terrains. So that's fast. And here I was with the group still, and I'm struggling, and I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to hang on. But one of the other things that I'm thinking is I need to change into my small ring, but I can't find, like, I'm doing 330 watts just trying to stay on the back here, and I've got that feather, but I see that no, there's no climbing, and now it's downhill, which is the worst thing possible for me. If they start to pull away now, I'm screwed. So I put in a sprint, especially once we get on to this tarmac section, and I'm now going to be in fight mode. This is like tap into your inner samurai, brother, because I can see them pulling away, and here it goes. 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and then you can see me. I'm just fighting 300s and 400s. I'm just pushing, and I'm like, just get back on that group. Do what you can. Keep that number in the 300s. Spike up. Just give yourself a mini break and then push again. And only give that break if you're on a negative incline. So anytime I saw a positive incline, I just try to keep it up. I mean, your body's telling you everything is wrong, but you have to just push through that. So I get on the back here, and I remembered sometimes when I get on the backs of groups, I ease up and the group just pulls away again from me. So here I tried to get out into the front, and then as the group was swarming around me, do another little push to get my speed at the same as theirs and then settle into a lower wattage. But here we are, like, the climb is happening here. This is that valley section. Had we would come down the valley as I described in the front, this is the little hill in the middle of that. So I know where we're at in my mind, but again, I want to get myself into my small ring. But every time I do, I notice we're on a downhill or we're on a flat, and that's not what I want to be in my small ring. So I'm pretty content. I think I've got over this little bump with them. I'm still up in 37th, 38th. We've only got 13k to go. But I'm still having to push. And especially like right here, I'm having to push to stay with the pack. To get on even just the back, I have to get into the high 290s, 300s. But I'm trying. And you can see here, this is about where I use the feather. And that's a desperate act because I'm just trying to hang on. But I'm doing 380. You know, if you look over on the side there, I was in 5.3, 5.4. And now I'm at 4.8, 4.7. And this group is just pulling away from me. So the watts per kilo just weren't there anymore with 13k to go. But 27 hard kilometers. And here I am. I'm really just trying to get into my small ring. Or no, at this point I still haven't, but there's going to be a point here. Yeah, I switched into my small ring, but now I'm trying to chase back on, so being in the small ring is not a good idea. So here I kind of just accept that it's done, and I tell myself, well, I'll let this guy here in front of me pull me along. But again, I still haven't got, for some reason, it took a lot longer to get my small ring to drop properly. So I kind of just told myself, try to catch on to this guy if you can. I do a little bit of an effort, but if he doesn't come back easily, don't even worry about it. I looked behind me and I saw the next group was 25, 30 seconds behind me. So in my head, if they caught me by 10k to go, I'll just latch on with them and push myself forward. You have to make a decision if you want to push it all. I'm 35th. I know even if I go hard for the next 10K, I'm not going to stay ahead of 20 seconds is going to come back. And then when it comes back, I won't have what it takes to stay with them, because now we'll be at pretty much close to the end. Let's say it'll be the last 5K by then, or last 3K. So they're going to be ramping up when I'm fading. So I put in a couple pushes just to see what the gap would look like, and doing 250, if I could do 250 for 11K, which I could probably if I really pushed it, and that would have been my 20-minute. I should have actually, in hindsight looking back, I could have done this as like the 20-minute power section that I needed to test. But yeah, mentally I wasn't strong enough that day, to be truthful. So instead, I put in a push. I see how that holds the gap. I see the gap is just plummeting. So I ease up. Pack behind me. I'm looking at it and it's 6 seconds behind. So I drop my camera to the rear view. That way I can just kind of ease along here. And as soon as I see them at the appropriate moment, you'll see my power starts to pick up. So right about here, you see I start surging, get my power up, get into the same speed as them, and then just settle into my power, which should have been almost what I was doing in the front pack when I was in the group. So 220, 215, 220, something like that. And here you'll see I'm at the front a bit, which I don't want to be. But I found at the very start of this, they were going a bit slow, and I was still trying to get that adjustment done. So we got 8K to go now, mostly in and around this area. So we're on tarmac. It looks like rough tarmac, but it rolls like regular. There's no simulation of a surface here. It just feels like the road on my trainer. And we're coming around here. Actually, this reminds me of where I'm from. A lot of the things in these games do. There's a big, huge oil refinery. And when you come up the back of it in the nighttime, there's all these lights and stack. If you look at my heart rate, like I'm still doing a high rate of work, but not like at this point I'm an 8.5, maybe 9. But I had that little break, so it rejuvenated me. And now what I'm kind of saying to myself is I'd like to finish in the top 50 would be great. Out of 1,270 riders, that's not a bad. Now those numbers, 1,270, there'll be disqualifications. There'll be people who don't meet the standards. They were part of the event, but for example, I think if you're an A rider, you have to, or an A rider, you have to have heart rate, or to be on Zwift Power, you have to have heart rate, and you have to have a trainer with power, which that's measuring your output basically. Or if your bike has a power measuring device that you use outdoors, you can connect that as well and use it, but you need power. So 6K to go. I'm at the back of the pack here. I'm not sure how much work people have been doing. I haven't been with this group, but I know that I'm able to push and then get towards the front, so I know I'm at least in good company here. And when I'm at the back here, you're at about 70th place, so getting 50th means being in front of 20 of these people. And I'm starting to wonder, can I do that? And we're starting to see a little bit of a string out, and there's people using these coffee breaks. I don't know how long those last, but basically what they do is they means that they don't have to do any work, and their bike rider stays going the same pace. To me, it's not the spirit of this event. It's more for a social thing. You have a cafe thing on a social bit, but maybe that's the difference between the Zwift Epic Race versus these open event. Maybe the other one doesn't have a coffee. I don't know, but I've never used it. I don't know how to I know how to use it, but I've never deployed it because I don't know exactly how it works. I've never looked into it. When you sign up for a course, ride the course. So we're coming out, 5K to go, and we're out of that industrial section and kind of out in towards this jungle / tropical area. And as you remembered, the last bit of this course is going to be a climb, a long drag up towards the line. And then even when we started, it's a continuation of this climb out of the pens. So we got about 2/3 of it that we have to climb before we get to the line. But I think it's only 2K or 2.4K or something like that. It's not a categorized climb, so it doesn't have a segment. But there we see someone break off the front. I'm okay with that. The group's not really responding to bring it back, but then somebody does, and it starts to string out a bit, and I've got to put in a little dig. And my goal here is no digs as long as I can possibly avoid them. After falling off the back, I just push a little bit, get myself back up in the group, and we hit a mixed surface, and I'm definitely starting to look at where we're at, how many kilometers to go, calculating in my head how much time that is approximately. Do a little bit of fighting through these mixed surface areas, staying with the pack, putting down power when I have to, easing up when I can, just trying to save as much as I can for when that climb starts. I don't know exactly when it starts, but in my head I was telling myself probably with like 1.3, 1.4 kilometers to go, we're going to start seeing the gradients go up. And like I said, at the very back here, we're at 70th, and I would like to be in the front of this pack. I would like to be 50th if I can. And I believe the very front of this is 46. I could be wrong. No, it looks like, yeah, I'm wrong. It's probably higher than that. But I did a lot of work in that front pack, so I know there's guys here that are going to just be able to ride away once this climb gets going. And here it is. It starts here with 1K to go, basically. And it goes up, comes down, but then it's going to go up again. And you just really... This is where I wish I had the breakdown like I did on the other ones. But I pushed too soon as well. They had kind of a false... See, I see this banner and I'm like, oh, I got to push now if I want to be in the top 50. And I pushed and it got me through, but then I see, uh-oh, that's not the front, that's not the banner. And that was my last match. So now I'm in survival mode. I'm using that draft to try to stick with the pack, but I'm in my 310s, 360 at one point, and they're just riding away from me. And luckily, there's a little bit of a hill here, and that helps me stave off everybody. Now, crossing the line in game, it was a 62, but in the Zwift events, like I said, there were some DQs and people who didn't have appropriate measurements, and that meant I finished 52nd. So there were 10 riders in that the front two groups there that got DQ'd. So that's the event. It was a wonderful test of my fitness, and I'm looking forward to doing stage 4. And then I'm going to decide how serious I'll take it, because right now I got to get back into running. And I did a run the other day and did 1-minute intervals, and they were very hard. So now it's the balance of doing the two. That's stage 3, Tour de Zwift. I'll show you some more stuff about this as we push out a couple more videos on it. And I'll be doing live streams on this one as well. A little bit rusty on that too. I forgot to put music on the latest one, but I'll try to edit it and get that in. But thanks for joining me on this one. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and see you on course. Peace.